The clang of metal echoed across the wide garage, followed by the low hum of machines and the faint smell of oil that clung stubbornly to the air. The place wasn't glamorous. It was a mechanic's shop, noisy, messy, and filled with grease-stained hands that kept the world moving by fixing what most people never even noticed breaking. At the far corner, a young mechanic named Daniel leaned over an open engine, his hands working with the steady precision of someone who cared about more than just bolts and wires. He wasn't the type who showed up for a paycheck alone. Every car, every engine, every customer mattered to him. That was his way of living, quiet service, done with pride. But on this particular morning, something unusual happened. A young woman rushed into the shop, her face pale, her hands trembling as she clutched the wrist of a girl, maybe 10 years old, who looked weak and scared. Please, the woman cried, her voice breaking, my daughter collapsed in the car on the way to the hospital. The engine died, and we're stuck. She needs help. Please, can anyone help us? Daniel dropped the wrench he was holding. His coworkers froze, unsure what to do. This wasn't the kind of emergency they were trained for. But Daniel didn't hesitate. He jogged to the parking lot where the woman's car was parked, popped the hood, and bent down. The engine was smoking, the radiator hissing, the belts worn thin. It was a breakdown that could take hours to repair. Hours the girl clearly didn't have. Sir, we don't have time to fix it properly, the woman pleaded, panic in her eyes. Daniel thought fast. He glanced back into the garage. His boss, Mr. Thompson, a sharp-dressed man in his 40s, was already watching with a scowl. Thompson hated distractions, especially ones that didn't bring in money. Still, Daniel grabbed a small toolbox and worked furiously. I'll rig it just enough to get you to the hospital, he said. His hands moved quickly, stripping away non-essential parts, tightening belts temporarily, improvising with wires. It wasn't safe for long-term driving, but it would hold just long enough. The girl's breathing grew shallow. Her lips quivered. Daniel's heart pounded as he worked faster. In less than 10 minutes, he slammed the hood shut. It's not perfect, but it'll get you there. Go now. The mother jumped into the car, tears in her eyes. Thank you, she cried. The girl managed a weak smile as the car roared to life and sped away toward the hospital. The garage went silent. Daniel exhaled, sweat trickling down his forehead. But instead of gratitude, he felt the sharp sting of anger from behind him. Mr. Thompson stormed forward, his polished shoes clicking against the concrete. What the hell was that, Daniel? He barked. You just gave away free labor, used parts we can't charge for, and left paying customers waiting. Do you think this is a charity? Daniel turned, still catching his breath. She needed help. Her daughter could have died. What was I supposed to do? Stand by and let it happen? Yes, Thompson snapped, his voice cold. You were supposed to do your job. We run a business, not a rescue service. Every minute you waste, every part you hand out, costs me money. And do you know what that means? It costs you too. Daniel clenched his jaw. His coworkers kept their heads down, pretending not to hear. Everyone knew how Thompson was. Strict. Ruthless. Numbers above people. I don't regret what I did, Daniel said firmly. You should, Thompson shot back. His finger jabbed toward the office door. Clean out your locker. You're fired. The words hit like a hammer. Fired. Just like that. For helping. For doing the right thing. Daniel's stomach dropped, but he didn't argue. He simply wiped his greasy hands on a rag, took one last look around the shop he had poured years into, and walked out. For weeks, Daniel struggled. He applied to other shops, but word traveled fast in their small town. Thompson made sure potential employers knew he was unreliable, a worker who valued heroics over discipline. No one wanted the risk. Bills piled up. The rent notice on his small apartment grew more threatening by the day. Some nights, Daniel skipped dinner so he could stretch his money a little further. Yet even in his hardship, he never regretted that choice. Somewhere out there, a little girl was alive because he hadn't hesitated. That mattered more than any paycheck. Then, one evening, there was a knock at his door. When Daniel opened it, he froze in surprise. Standing there was the woman from the garage, the mother. Her daughter was with her this time, healthier, color back in her cheeks. She smiled shyly, clutching a teddy bear. Mr. Daniel. The mother asked softly. Do you remember us? Daniel nodded, a little stunned. Of course. How is she? The woman's eyes filled with tears. Alive, because of you. The doctors said if we hadn't made it when we did, she might not have survived. I don't know how to thank you. Daniel smiled faintly. That's all the thanks I need. I'm glad she's okay. But the mother shook her head. It's not enough. You gave us more than help. You gave me my daughter's life back. And I found out what happened to you after. You lost your job. Daniel shrugged, trying to play it off. Things happen. I'll figure something out. The woman reached into her bag and handed him an envelope. No. You don't understand. I work with a foundation that supports families in crisis. When I told them what you did, they wanted to help. Inside is an offer. We want you to join our community outreach program, teaching basic car repair to single mothers, low-income families, and people who can't afford expensive shops. It won't pay like the garage, but it's steady. And it changes lives. Daniel hesitated, his hands trembling as he opened the envelope. It wasn't riches. It wasn't luxury. But it was purpose. A job that valued kindness instead of punishing it. He looked at the little girl, her smile lighting up the dim hallway. He thought about the long nights of hunger, the rejection, the humiliation. And then he thought about the moment he'd chosen to act, not knowing the cost. Sometimes, life takes something away to make space for something greater. Daniel took the job. Months passed. The workshop he ran wasn't filled with sleek cars or expensive tools. Instead, it was filled with people, mothers learning how to change tires, teenagers learning how to check oil, families discovering that self-reliance wasn't out of reach. Daniel taught with patience, humility, and a quiet strength. The little girl often visited, running through the shop with laughter, bringing Daniel drawings she made of him as a hero mechanic. He never saw himself that way, but her gratitude never faded. Word spread about what he was doing. Soon, donations came in. Volunteers showed up. The workshop grew. What began as a punishment had transformed into a calling. And somewhere across town, in his shiny office, Mr. Thompson sat alone. His business was slowing. Customers complained about his greed. Workers left, tired of his cold rules. He had money, but no respect. Success, but no gratitude. Daniel, meanwhile, had something Thompson could never buy, the knowledge that his kindness had sparked a chain of good that reached further than he could ever imagine. The story of the mechanic who saved a girl and lost his job became a quiet legend in the community. People spoke of it not as a tragedy, but as a reminder, sometimes, the price of kindness feels heavy, but it always carries rewards greater than what is lost. Daniel never grew rich, but he grew fulfilled. He woke each day knowing his work mattered. He had a family of people who believed in him, a little girl who looked up to him, and a future built not on money, but on compassion. Because in the end, kindness is never wasted. It may cost you a job, a reputation, or comfort. But it plants seeds that grow in ways you cannot predict. And Daniel's story was proof.